Hey there, and welcome to BingeBot, where we recap all the latest and greatest TV. This time we're checking out Mayor of Kingstown Season 3, a gripping drama starring Jeremy Renner, who plays Mike McLusky, the titular mayor of Kingstown, Michigan, a company town ruled by the profits of the prison system. As always, if you guys want to support our channel, you can do so via YouTube memberships, Patreon, or Buy Me a Coffee, and unlock early video access and more. But now, let's jump right into the recap, starting with Episode 1, Soldier's Heart. Upon the conclusion of his mother's funeral, meditator for cops, fixer for criminals, and de facto mayor of the corrupt town of Kingstown, Mike McLusky, is suddenly driven into the cemetery ground by the destructive force of an explosion. Furious but determined to be clinical, Mike promises his allies in the police department that he'll find a target for their justice before they open fire on everyone.
I need an hour.
Mike, what do you
We need a bullseye, okay? I'm gonna find it, I'm gonna place it. There's somewhere to aim, all right? Just give me an hour.
With no idea who planted the bomb, Mike chooses the White Power Aryan Brotherhood to take the heat, handing the police an address after hunting and brutally disabling a pair of their drug dealers on the street. Knowing that his younger brother Kyle is determined to prove himself as a valuable police officer, Mike makes an unsuccessful attempt to persuade him to remain at home with his pregnant wife Tracy instead of joining the raid. But luckily, Kyle's not harmed when the raid turns tragic after Robert Sawyer, a SWAT agent with a long history of excessive force, shoots a grenade into the den where several members of the Aryan Brotherhood are camped out. Now facing an antagonized and powerful gang as well as a hellbent police force, Mike warns Carney, a Kingstown penitentiary guard, to expect blowback in the prison before having to placate the assistant district attorney, Evelyn Foley. That night at the Cabo nightclub, Konstantin Noskov, a top Russian mafioso, accuses the hostess and escort Tatiana of aiding the man he was sent to replace, the disgraced Milo Sunter, in faking his death. Despite Tatiana swearing loyalty to Konstantin and insisting that Milo is dead after Mike orchestrated his boat's explosion, Konstantin refuses to believe her as he's convinced that Milo is still alive and plotting a brutal comeback. Beginning to understand Konstantin's intentions, Tatiana attempts to flee but to no avail as he shoots her in the back, killing her and leaving her baby at his mercy. Episode 2, Guts. Visiting Mike at his office, Anna Fletcher, the mother of a murder victim, wants her son's murderer to stay behind bars despite his release date approaching. Although Anna reminds Mike of his late mother, he's not able to give her the justice she desires, especially due to his reluctance to interfere with a man who served his time. Inside Kingstown Penitentiary, a dead member of the Crip gang is discovered with foam at his mouth and the cocaine he was smuggling still in his body. Seeking answers, Mike confronts Bunny, the Crips' leader who is also a friend. And irritated by this, Bunny informs Mike that business is business and the product has already been extracted from the body and is distributed. But when bodies begin dropping across town and testing unsurprisingly confirms the drugs to be a deadly cocktail, Bunny calls on Mike, desperate for a solution.
It's gonna be bad for Raph, okay? They're gonna be all over his ass.
Look, I'll get you him, all right? Want me to fix this?
How?
I'll make it right. You just can't bitch about it later.
Starting at the source, Mike has Carney sneak him into the Kingstown Penitentiary, where he instructs Raphael, Bunny's right-hand man within the prison, to cut his current connections and pay any price for a clean supply, even if it bankrupts them. Across town, Iris, a former escort who worked for Milo before Mike extricated her, is pulled over for a moving violation and arrested when the tumultuous life that she's lived compels her to aggressively resist complying with the police. As a result of Mike's inability to help her, Anna waits during the night at the bus stop where her son's killers dropped off after his release and, taking the law into her own hands, pulls out a gun and shoots him multiple times in the chest, dropping him dead on the sidewalk, fully aware that this act will land her in prison. Episode 3, Barbarians at the Gate. When a homeless man follows the cries of Tatiana's baby to a dumpster, where he's tucked against her decomposing corpse, Mike and Ian begin to make the connection and realize that Konstantin's cleaning Cavo of those that he believes are still loyal to Milo. Fueled by the callousness of the act and fear for the missing Iris, whose past connection to Milo puts her in danger, Mike enters Konstantin's bar fists first. After trading words with a highly annoyed Russian, Mike leaves with a promise of consequences if more bodies are found.
No more dead bodies.
Or... Now I'm getting annoyed. Take this out before the pigs come in.
Intercepting Mike in the prison parking lot, Bunny informs him that Raphael barely escaped an attempt on his life and that the Aryan Brotherhood is under new management, a name Mike seems to share a dark history with, Merrill Callahan. On his way to the police station where Iris is being held, Mike notices that one of Konstantin's men is tailing him, and not willing to be a victim, he engages the Bratva enforcer and kills him before the same can be done to him. Not wanting anyone to find out the details of her dark past, Iris initially declines to be fingerprinted until Detective Ian, who's a close friend of Mike's, promises that he can get her out of jail immediately if she complies, vowing to keep her past a secret from everyone, including Mike. Before releasing her, Ian has Iris look over Tatiana's case file, since the two previously worked together under Milo's operation. Recognizing Constantine's picture, Iris reveals that she actually used to have an intimate relationship with him. Leaving the station after helping Iris, Ian trades light banter with some colleagues when suddenly the piece is shattered as a car bomb erupts, consuming most of the parking lot with it. Episode 4: Ragdoll. Descending into chaos in search of the bombing suspects, who are two Aryan Brotherhood members, the police manage to identify and locate one of the perpetrators. However, when Robert callously shoots him in the head, Mike's furious that they wasted a crucial witness who would have confirmed that it was Merle Callahan who gave the order. Mike's luck turns, though, when he receives a call from Ian, informing him that the second bombing suspect was caught in Crypt territory, leading to a high-speed chase that ultimately landed him in Bunny's hands. As he has done so many times before, Bunny decides to help Mike by handing over the bomber. However, when the suspect reveals that Mike himself was once a member of the Aryan Brotherhood when he was in prison, Mike, consumed by cold rage, pushes him over the rooftop ledge, killing him. And using the murder to his advantage, Mike convinces Merle that he did him a favor by eliminating the suspect, who would have likely confessed that Merle had ordered the bombing. In recognizing this, Merle agrees to a truce, letting Mike know that he will now use him in his role as a fixer rather than working against him.
Yeah, I needed someone inside to even that shit out. That was the plan. You weren't on the list.
I'm here now.
For old time's sake.
Episode 5: Iris. When chemical analysis reveals that the Crips' coke had been tainted with Russian meth and opioids, it becomes clear that Constantine is behind the sabotage, as his goal is to control the entire drug supply in Kingstown. Wanting to prevent a war, Mike arrives at Cabo to warn Constantine against undercutting Bunny. Not wanting to make a decision that he regrets, Constantine neither agrees nor disagrees to Mike's request when suddenly both of them are taken by surprise as Bunny's crew arrives with a hailstorm of bullets, killing several of Constantine's people and causing massive damage to the place, a clear message about what happens when you mess with the Crips. Knowing any sort of peace between the Russians and the Crips is now lost, Mike, out of desperation, threatens Constantine with instant and brutal retaliation by informing him that the police wouldn't stand for it if he took any retaliatory action. Adding another layer of complexity to the situation, Mike has spotted Iris in Cabo but chose not to approach her, knowing that it would have put her in a difficult position. However, once he gets the chance, he isolates Iris for an explanation, wondering what she's doing with Constantine. In explaining her actions, Iris informs Mike that she plans to spy on Constantine for him as a way to repay him for protecting her from Milo and keeping her safe after his death. Although he isn't too happy about this arrangement, knowing that it puts Iris in danger, Mike's forced to accept her involvement. This leads him and Ian to prepare her for her time in Cabo before staking out the club while she works with Constantine. After a night of doing drugs and talking with Constantine, Iris secretly calls Mike and Ian, revealing that as a part of their plan to gain more influence in Kingstown, the Russians have formed an alliance with the Aryan Brotherhood. Hearing this, Mike realizes that Iris will be invaluable in exposing Constantine's plans and bringing about his downfall. Episode 6: Ecotone. Beloved in her community, Rhonda, Bunny's cousin, enthusiastically arrives at her beauty salon, ready to put her talents to work. Tragedy strikes, however, when a drive-by ordered by the Russians, in direct defiance of Mike's warning, erupts outside. In just a few seconds, a bullet barrage shatters the salon's windows, killing Rhonda, a devastating and deeply personal blow to Bunny. As a result, Mike calls for Ian to get a warrant to search Cabo, making good on his threat to Constantine about police interference if he retaliated against the Crips. Though the police ultimately find nothing incriminating at Cabo, Mike's message is clear, that he is not to be messed around with, and now, Constantine has no choice but to respect that. That evening, after the dust settles, Mike meets with Merle and admits to being responsible for him being placed in solitary confinement, explaining that the Russian Aryan Brotherhood alliance has forced him to take drastic measures. In response, Merle warns Mike that he's sabotaging himself, and if he wants to truly end up on the winning side, he should take Bunny out of the equation. Episode 7: Maria was here. Heading towards Kingstown by way of Canada, a bus carrying young Russian teen girls who are being transported to Constantine crosses a bridge when it is suddenly forced to stop by a stalled car blocking the road. And before anyone can react, a forklift appears behind the bus and in one swift motion, flips it off the bridge, causing it to plummet into the water below, drowning everyone on board, including all of the girls. In Kingstown Penitentiary, Ian meets with Charlie Pickings, a mentally unstable serial killer, encouraging him to draw the locations of his victims' bodies. During their meeting, Ian realizes that he can no longer trust Charlie as he keeps hinting at exposing Ian's involvement in the murder of Ben Morrissey, a former SWAT agent who almost exposed Robert's use of excessive force. Wanting to protect Robert, Ian released Charlie from prison briefly under the pretense of taking him to the dentist, but in reality, he tried to use him to intimidate Morrissey from testifying against Robert. However, Charlie's erratic nature got the best of him, and instead of merely threatening him, he savagely killed Morrissey. Later, Ian points out to Mike that Bunny is the most likely suspect in the girls' murders, insinuating that Mike is blind to the truth about his old friend. Wanting answers, Mike follows Bunny from his cousin's funeral to a warehouse full of artillery and confronts him outright, asking if he was responsible for killing the young girls. Still grieving Rhonda's death and well past his breaking point, Bunny's enraged that Mike would even ask such a question. And refusing to dignify it with a response, he refuses to give a clear answer and instead tells Mike that it's his turn now to be the monster, before ordering his men to escort Mike out.
Girls from the river this morning. Not one of them 18 yet. Russians. Constantine's girls. Are you?
Get the out of here, man.
Unwilling to let his friendship with Bunny deteriorate just like that, Mike decides to extend a gesture of goodwill to the Crips. With Carney's help, Mike arranges for a burner phone to be smuggled to Raphael, who's been thrown into solitary confinement by the corrupt guards sympathetic to the Aryans. Grateful for the phone, Raphael wastes no time in calling Bunny. Panicked, he begs to get his wife and son to safety, warning that the guards know where they live and have made it clear that they're planning on harming them. Episode 8, Captain of the Shit Outta Luck. While trying to enjoy some of the little time that he gets in the yard, Meryl's suddenly thrown to the ground violently amidst fiery explosions, the result of multiple grenades being tossed over the prison walls by a masked motorbiker who speeds off right after. Barely surviving the attack, Meryl's left with severe burns in a hospital bed where he infuriatingly declares that he wants Bunny's head on a plate, believing it was him who orchestrated the attack as payback for Rhonda's death. Despite knowing that Bunny was indeed the mastermind behind the attack, Mike sees a chance to manipulate the situation. Given that the grenades used were military grade, Mike convinces Meryl that it was the Russians who attacked him, claiming that only they would have access to such high-caliber weaponry. Meanwhile, on his yacht, Constantine sees the devastation in Iris's eyes over the loss of all the young girls, leading him to beg her to let him buy her a new life somewhere far away from Kingstown before she ends up like them. Knowing that accepting this offer would put her in Constantine's debt forever, Iris cleverly declines, stating that she'll forever be by his side. With their leader bedridden, 2 Aryan members interrupt Iris and Constantine uninvited, looking for extra supply. Already on edge from the loss of his girls, Constantine reacts violently to this unsolicited visit, shooting one of the Aryans dead and allowing the other to leave with the corpse as a warning to the rest of their group. Shaken by this, Iris later informs Mike that Constantine's spiraling drug use and the chaos surrounding him are finally getting to him, making him increasingly unstable. And while Mike's concerned for Iris' safety around the unhinged Constantine, he's also pleased, as this new development fits perfectly into his plan of pitting the Russians and Aryans against each other. Episode 9, Home on the Range. Realizing that he's getting close to getting rid of the Aryans and the Russians, Mike tracks down the AWOL Bunny and slips into his car while he's grabbing burgers at a fast food joint. With a precautionary gun to his old friend's head, Mike reassures Bunny, swearing to him that if he cooperates, he will hand-deliver Meryl and Constantine to him.
I can give him to you. And I'll put down the Russian.
Once Bunny agrees, Mike lines up the next domino, approaching Constantine and giving up the details of some weapons that Bunny's supposedly moving, offering the Russians a chance to ambush him. After a court hearing, Raphael sees an opportunity to escape custody by removing his shirt and using it to cover up his handcuffs, allowing him to inconspicuously walk out of the building. Eager to spend time with his wife and son and already aware that he will soon be back in prison, he heads to the safe house where Bunny's protecting them. After bonding with his family, Raphael has a sit-down with Bunny, who informs him that his mission during his brief time out of prison is to finally get payback for Rhonda by killing Meryl. To that end, Raphael meets with Mike at night, who drives him to the hospital to assassinate Meryl. Donning a mask and walking in unnoticed, Raphael makes his way to Meryl's bed, knife in hand. Removing the cover to see Meryl one last time before stabbing him, Raphael's surprised to find that Meryl's nowhere to be found. Instead, there's a dead guard in his place, conveying that Meryl was one step ahead, knowing someone was coming to attack him during his sleep. Returning to Mike with the news that he didn't find Meryl, both are disappointed, but are still forced to go with the second half of their plan, surrendering Raphael to the police. While Meryl has managed to evade death, he can't evade capture, as the cops soon find him hiding in a closet. Meanwhile, Ian is out on a field trip with Charlie to dig up another victim. However, once Charlie again mentions Morrissey's death, Ian panics that he'll reveal their secret and instantly shoots Charlie dead in front of a squad of cops, claiming that it was in self-defense. An easily believed lie, since Charlie was unstable and unpredictable.
Why are you shooting?
Hey! Back the up. He came at me.
Despite knowing Iris is opposed to the idea, Constantine sends his right-hand man Roman to meet with an associate who can provide her with a new life. Shockingly, this is when the revelation Constantine has been fearing comes to light, as out of nowhere, Milo appears, confirming that the boat explosion was just a ploy to fake his death, allowing him to work in secret and gain the upper hand on all of his enemies, including Constantine and Mike. Without hesitation, Milo fires a bullet into Roman's leg, forcing him to the ground. And recognizing Milo's gruesome tendencies, Roman begs him to shoot him dead, but Milo ominously informs him that he needs him alive just a little longer.
Constantine soiled her long before me.
Just finish it.
I'm sorry, Roman. I need you alive for a while.
Episode 10. Comeuppance. On the Russians' yacht, Iris and Constantine speculate about why Roman disappeared when Mike arrives, announcing that the police have found his lifeless body hanging from a bridge. Given that Roman's body was mutilated in what was clearly a long, drawn-out torture session, both Mike and Constantine begin to realize that Milo might indeed be alive, and that Roman's body was his message that he's coming for them. With that in mind, several things become clear to Mike and Constantine as they realize it was Milo who's behind the bomb at Miriam's, Mike's mother's funeral, as well as the deaths of the girls on the bus. Nonetheless, despite Milo's return being deeply unsettling to Mike and Constantine, they still agree to proceed with the Crip ambush as planned. While hoping to escape legal consequences for Charlie's murder, Ian's approached by Evelyn, the ADA, who begins questioning him after noticing that Charlie's supposed trip to the dentist from a while back happened around the same time of Morrissey's murder. In an anger fueled by fear, Ian denies all accusations before they're even spoken. Now that it's clear that Evelyn will be gunning for Ian for trying to protect him, Robert refuses to stand by and do nothing, which is why he calls an emergency meeting, demanding that Mike take care of Evelyn, or he will. When Mike firmly states that no one's going to touch a hair on Evelyn's head, Robert instantly pieces things together and realizes that Mike and Evelyn are involved, causing his frustration to boil over as he understands that Mike won't stand by him this time. After processing what he sees as failures at home and work, the prison warden Kareem gives into his weight of his desolation and plans his permanent farewell. Calling prisoner down into his radio, he steps into the prison yard, challenging the prisoners until they break. And by the time the riot is broken up, Kareem lies dead, riddled with stab wounds. Later that night, Mike's suspicions are confirmed as he's summoned to Constantine's yacht by a call from Milo and arrives to find Constantine and Milo having a chilling reckoning while Iris sits stonily by. Wanting back in the game and needing Mike's cooperation for that, Milo promised to let Iris go free with the cash and fake identification that Constantine had procured for her. However, Milo isn't planning to let Iris off that easily, as he hands her a gun with a single bullet and orders her to shoot Constantine. Despite having just discovered that Iris had been working with Mike the entire time, Constantine realizes that getting angry with her won't change anything. Instead, he encourages her to kill him, even turning his back to make it easier for her. With tears in her eyes, she reluctantly pulls the trigger, shooting him in the head. Recognizing all the horrors that Kingstown has inflicted upon Iris, Mike sees no option but to sternly demand that she leave and never come back. And even though she's made it clear that she never wants to leave him, Mike insists. Forced to comply, Iris tells Mike that she'll leave Kingstown, forget about his existence entirely, and never return. While Milo has had the upper hand until now, things take a turn when Ian arrives, having been informed by Mike about Milo's presence on the yacht. Encouraged by Ian shooting down all of the guards on board, Mike gains the confidence to abruptly engage Milo and disarm him, giving him control over the situation. Once Ian enters the yacht, Mike assures him that he has things under control and asks him to take Iris to a bus station so that she'll be able to leave Kingstown. And though completely at Mike's mercy, Milo continues to taunt him, but Mike has no patience left for Milo's mind games and finally does what he thought he did months ago, killing Milo with a single bullet to the head. With Milo finally dealt with once and for all, Mike arrives at the 6th Street Bridge to find that his plan to eliminate the Russians by luring them into the Crips' trap had worked, but not without disastrous consequences, especially when he spots Kyle, his younger brother, locked in the back seat of a police car. Upon speaking with Evelyn and Ian, he learns the full extent of what had happened. As per Mike's plan, the Russians arrived on the 6th Street Bridge, believing that they were about to seize a shipment of weapons from the Crips, unaware that they were actually walking into an ambush. Although the confrontation was primarily between the Crips and the Russians, the battle erupted amidst civilian traffic, trapping innocent bystanders in their vehicles as gunfire broke out. response, a SWAT team, led by Robert, intervened to neutralize the threat and supposedly protect the civilians. During the operation, however, a critical incident unfolded, as in one of his hot-headed moments, Robert targeted an innocent civilian who was only armed to protect his child. And seeing that Robert was about to kill the civilian, Kyle took it upon himself to intervene, fully aware of the consequences of his actions, and shot Robert. Although Robert survived thanks to his bulletproof vest, Kyle still faces legal repercussions for his split-second decision and is charged with attempted murder. Devastated, Mike turns to Evelyn for help, hoping she'll let off his brother easy. Unfortunately, though, he's informed that there were many witnesses, and as Evelyn had always warned him, there'd be no exceptions for anyone, not even Mike himself or his little brother. Considering how bleak things are in Kingstown, Iris leaves to seek a new life away from all of the violence and the chaos. Boarding the bus, she takes her seat and seemingly tries to calm her nerves by popping a couple of pills, as she often does. Time passes, and the bus reaches its final stop, prompting the driver to walk through the aisle and checking for any stragglers. And that's when it becomes clear that not even Iris is lucky enough to escape the misery of Kingstown, as the driver finds her still in her seat, skin waxy, and gaze vacant, dead from an overdose. And that's it for Mayor of Kingstown Season 3. A bit of a bummer ending if you ask me. I mean, despite deleting Milo, life is still glum for Mike, and it looks like his work in Kingstown is far from over. We'll see how he deals with things when Season 4 arrives, and of course, we're going to have the recap ready as soon as it wraps up. Thanks again for checking out our Season 3 recap and for watching through until the end. If you guys like this video, maybe just drop us a like or share the video with a friend. And if you want more great content like this, be sure to subscribe and don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll be back soon with another recap, but until then, BingeBot is logging off.